Atlanta was sleeping when the first dead man opened his eyes. Inside a restricted CDC laboratory, patient 0 flatlined at exactly 2:14 a.m. Cause of death: severe brain trauma. Time officially recorded: Dr. Amelia Ross removed her gloves, exhausted after a 14-hour shift. The project, Z17, was supposed to be revolutionary regenerative research. 3 minutes after death, the corpse inhaled sharply. The heart monitor remained flat. No pulse. No electrical activity. Yet his eyes opened. He whispered one word: Lena. No one in the room had that name. Nurse Patel leaned closer in shock. Suddenly, the patient grabbed her face with terrifying strength. He didn't growl. He didn't scream. He stared into her eyes like he recognized her. Security fired twice into his chest. He didn't fall. Only a shot through the skull stopped him within an ord. 3 lab staff members were missing. Security footage showed them walking calmly out of the building at exactly 3:33 a.m. Eyes wide, mouths slightly smiling. Atlanta still slept peacefully. By morning, the CDC was under military control. Captain Daniel Hayes arrived with armed bioresponse units. He wasn't surprised. Z217, he admitted, was modified regenerative research, designed for soldiers who could survive fatal injuries longer. But something evolved. Across Atlanta, emergency calls exploded. People froze mid-conversation for exactly 10 seconds. Then they attacked. Not randomly. They whispered names before killing. Pregnant nurse Sofia Martinez watched her husband stop mid-sentence at dinner. He stared at her gently. Sofia then lunged at her throat. At 3:33 p.m., the entire city grid flickered. Hundreds turned at once. The outbreak was no longer contained. Hospitals collapsed by nightfall. Dr. Ross analyzed blood samples and found one pattern. Most infected shared a rare genetic marker. Except one. Ethan Cole, a 19-year-old intern, had been bitten during the first incident. He didn't turn. Tests showed the virus was inside him, but inactive, dormant. Captain Hayes understood immediately. Ethan wasn't immune. He was evolving differently. Military orders came fast: contain or eliminate. Amelia refused. If he's alive, he's the key. Outside the lab, the infected were no longer chaotic. They were moving with purpose toward the CDC. The city of Atlanta was a ghost town, its skyline etched in smoke against a dying sun. Highways, once arteries of life, were now clotted with abandoned cars, silent witnesses to a desperate exodus. The wail of sirens, a constant song for days, had finally faded into an eerie silence. Now, the only sound was the shuffling of feet, the collective groan of the infected. They weren't just shambling anymore. They were moving in groups, coordinated. And when night fell, something changed. They became faster, their movements sharper, their eyes showing a flicker of something terrifyingly close to intelligence. Inside the sterile, secured walls of the CDC's West Wing, Sofia was still trying to process what she'd seen. The hospital massacre. She'd been the only one to escape. Now, she was with Amelia and Ethan, 2 other survivors who'd found this temporary sanctuary. It was here they met Hayes, a man whose face was a roadmap of secrets. He finally broke, pulling out classified files that turned their world upside down all over again. The virus, the Z17 strain, wasn't some lab experiment gone wrong. It wasn't man-made at all. The original sample was found deep in the Arctic ice, ancient, locked away for millennia. Hayes explained the chilling truth. The infected weren't losing their memories, their humanity. They were losing something far more fundamental. Fear. Without fear, there was no hesitation, only pure, unadulterated, efficient aggression. They were perfect predators, a hive mind of hunger. And then, as the clock ticked over to a time that would be forever burned into their minds, it happened. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the chaos stopped. The relentless attacks ceased. Across the city, across the country, maybe even across the world, thousands of infected simply stopped. They turned, their heads cocked as if listening to a silent command, and began to walk. All of them, in perfect unison, in the same direction. They weren't just hunting anymore. They were going somewhere. They were being called home. Thanks for watching. If you were captivated by this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't want to miss what happens next. Emergency radio is activated across the city. A distorted signal repeated one phrase: return to origin. The infected flooded the streets, not chasing survivors, walking toward the CDC. From helicopters, it looked like a silent river of bodies. Inside, Ethan collapsed. For 10 seconds, he stopped breathing. When he opened his eyes, they were darker. They're connected, he whispered. On security monitors, every infected head tilted slightly, at the same angle as Ethan. In a forgotten lab, Amelia toilet fingers dancing across holographic screens. A chilling truth, just beyond a grasp, beckoned. Then, a breakthrough. Zeta-17, not a pathogen, but a rewriter of life itself, reactivating pathways long dormant within our very code. Under the lens, its true nature emerged, not destruction, but connection. A microscopic web, weaving cells into an intricate, unified network. The city streets became a canvas of change. Faces once vibrant, now blank. Eyes, once warm, now devoid of individual spark. Empathy, hesitation, gone. A chilling synchronicity. Thousands of eyes, blinking as one. A single, shared consciousness beginning to awaken, binding humanity together. Amidst the chaos, Ethan stood, not fighting, but embracing, guiding the digital currents, a willing conduit for this new, unsettling evolution. Outside the CDC, a silent siege. Thousands stood motionless, bathed in the pale moonlight. A new dawn, or a final dusk for humanity. Then, the moment arrived. 3:33 a.m. The world held its breath, a silence so profound, it echoed the end of an era. In perfect unison, they knelt, a synchronized bow, not of reverence, but of absolute submission. The hive mind, fully formed, had claimed its own. Amelia watched, a silent witness to the dawn of a new age. In her reflection, a faint glow, the virus, the hive, had found its way even to her. The gates collapsed, but the infected did not rush in. They parted as Ethan walked outside alone. Blood trickled from his nose. He looked back once at Amelia. If I stay here, it spreads. If I go to them, it ends. He stepped into the center of the crowd. The infected surrounded him in a perfect circle. Their eyes slowly darkened. The ground vibrated beneath them. Ethan screamed as the virus inside him surged. A shockwave burst outward. Windows shattered across Atlanta. Then, silence. Thousands of infected froze and collapsed, all at once. The city sleeps, but not in peace. A silence has fallen, heavy and unnatural, over these forgotten streets. Echoes of a past event linger. A sudden departure leaving behind only ghosts and unanswered questions. What happened here? What force could empty a metropolis, leaving only this chilling stillness? Then came the cleanup. A swift, decisive operation designed to erase every trace. They scoured every surface, every shadow, determined to wipe away the evidence of what transpired. But some stains run deeper than chemicals can reach. Some truths refuse to be buried. In the sterile halls of power, a different kind of cleanup was underway. A digital erasure. Records vanished. Identities were purged. A history rewritten, leaving no trace of the infected. They believed they had silenced the past, controlled the narrative. But life, tenacious and defiant, finds a way. Amidst the desolation, a fragile hope blossoms. A new beginning, untouched by the shadows. A testament to survival. A quiet defiance against the darkness that once consumed their world. Others, too, emerged from the brink, bearing the scars, but clinging to the light. His gaze, though weary, holds a quiet strength. A survivor, marked but unbroken. But while some sought solace, others sought answers. Truth, buried deep, called to them. Through encrypted files and forgotten footage, she pieced together the fragments of a hidden history, an anomaly, a survivor, or something far more sinister, watching from the shadows. A gaze that pierces through time, through the static, directly into the soul. The screen glitches, a momentary distortion, and in that flicker, a chilling revelation. The darkness was not erased, it merely retreated, waiting, watching, growing. Beneath the surface, a pulse, a slow, heavy heartbeat echoing in the dark. The cleanup was a lie. The threat, not gone, but transformed. And it remembers, some secrets refuse to stay buried. Some horrors refuse to die.